Now we have a special board meeting for the Board of Supervisors. It's Tuesday, June the 11th. It is 10:30 a.m. We're in the Board of Supervisors hearing room. Pursuant to ARS 38-431.02H, the public will have physical access to the meeting place 15 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action. Again, we begin with the roll call. District 1.
Crosby is here.
District 2, Supervisor English is present. District 3.
Supervisor Judd is here.
We have a complete board this morning. Members of the public may also attend this meeting by Microsoft Teams computer or mobile app, or by phone by calling 602-609-7513 or 888-680-6714, conference ID 518-307-36#. If you have trouble accessing this meeting remotely, call 520-432-9200 for direction. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on this agenda. And if you wish to speak on an agenda item, complete and return the speaker request form to the clerk of the board by 9:00 a.m. on the day of the meeting. And I have no such requests. Action items, we have 2. I'd like to have a motion for the tentative budget, and then we'll have Mr. Karwatska do some explanation.
Madam Chair,
I move we adopt the tentative county budget for the fiscal year 2024 through 2025 in the amount of $289,456,368. This amount composed of $107,194,173 in the general fund and $182,262,195 in special revenue funds, and approving the funding request as set forth in the attached exhibit.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Karwatska.
So we're going to start off our budget presentation with the anticipated revenues. And that will start off with the conversation with our budget manager, Juan Frisbee.
I'm Juan Frisbee, budget manager. I'm starting off with the property taxes that we currently have for this year. If you'll notice, we have data up to April so far, and that's a total of $22,323,133. The rest of the slides include data up to May, but it's depending on how it's recorded in the system, it sometimes takes a bit longer. So I'll have the May data by the adopted budget, by the correct final budget.
Well, let me just butt in here just for clarification, if there's any public that's listening. Sometimes we talk about this year's budget ending at the end of June, but the public needs to understand that it takes us until sometimes about September to really know how the year ended. So that's why sometimes we don't have exact numbers. It's not as though we can't keep track, but because of the timing of things, sometimes there's a little ambiguity there. So go ahead, Juan.
Yeah, that is correct. Both expenses and revenue will sometimes do take time, but what I'm presenting so far is the data we have up to date. And on the next slide is the sales tax. You'll see our current revenue is of $71,647. For our TPT tax, we have $523,521.
Tell people what TPT means. We use acronyms too much for the public.
That's what is that? I call it
Transaction privilege tax, sales tax.
okay. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. I use the acronym too much.
That's from the state.
Correct.
Okay.
Our next slide is our general fund cash, and this is also known as cash carry forward in the accounting term. And so far, it's $37,934,000. $374. Goes to our projection for next year. The next slide, I show the and you'll see a pie chart with our revenue and what it's made out of for the general fund. You'll see that 39% is made out of property tax, 36% sales tax, and 25% other. On our general fund revenues, our property tax net assessed value increased to 1.14 billion over FY24's 1.07 billion, and it's made out of 2.2 increase of new construction, current home value increase of 2.6. Our sales tax, we have a projected amount of 8.9 million for the state shared tax, also known as TPT, 16 million. HERF, 11.6, and vehicle license taxes, 7.1 million. Most of our department revenue, there's not much fluctuation, increases or decreases projected for next year. For our expenses, you'll see a pie chart, what makes up most of the expenses for the county. You'll see 25% for sheriff, 24% for courts and criminal defense. Health services is 18%. Board of Supervisor, Treasurer, Assessors, Recorder, Elections, and Schools make up 13% of our expenses. All other departments make up 20%.
So then we talk about the changes to our general fund expenditure. So there's several discussions that we've had up until this point. And just to go over it again, for our benefits that we offer our employees, that has increased $780,850. The elected officials' salary, the legislature had an increase, and that cost to the general fund is $331,493. Also, the Department of Labor has made some changes that would increase the general fund expenditure $162,577. As we mentioned during the CCOM presentation, there was an increase of $52,498. And during our last work session, we talked about the market adjustment for $1,225,232.
And for the public, that means salary increase.
That is, yeah. Based on the market study and the positions, the allotted, and the separations that we talked about, that would be the market increase. Next, we have the slide for our expenditure limit. That has fluctuated in the past couple of years. However, there has been an increase to our expenditure limit, and that is for the public, the most amount of money the county can spend. And if we, for some
Even if
reason,
we bring in more, we can't spend.
that's right. And we never, when we budget, we don't budget to come close to the expenditure limit. We usually build in a safe cushion because there are penalties of spending more than the expenditure limit is allowed. Now, we received several funding requests. I know this information has been relayed over and over again, so just the funding request totaling $233,384 in one-time costs and $615,589 in recurring costs that we've included in this presentation. The details are listed below. I don't know if anyone had any additional questions or comments regarding these funding requests.
Any board members have any comments about the funding requests that we've been talking about? Hearing none, go ahead.
So next, Mr. Frisbee, do you want to talk about the unfunded liabilities that we currently have?
Correct. So these are our current unfunded liabilities as of FY24. So tiers 1 and 2, we're at 50.4% unfunded liability. Big, jump from what we previously had in the last 3 years. I think we had like 38%. So we're getting closer. For corp detention tiers 1 and 2, we're at 58.5% unfunded liability, and EORP is we're at 39, but that's everyone across the board. So we're not 622 million. We have a portion of that, but not full.
Well, PSPRS is corporate local, and the EORP is statewide.
Correct.
And based on the changes that we made to pay into PSPRS, you can see that it is paying dividends for us in the sense that.
Well, if anyone looks at our budget internally, they will notice that on the PSPRS, we are making, how big of a payment this year?
This year,
I think we're about $5 million.
yeah, we're at that $5 million mark.
That's what I thought, another 5 million this year.
Yep. So our base contribution on top and then contributing another 2.5 roughly. Just to still.
Madam Chair, I have a comment.
Yes, question or comment?
The statistics there, as far as the percentage unfunded, that's locally to this county. That's not statewide. Every participant municipality has their own statistics.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for bringing that out.
On the next slide, we have our current adopted budget and our tentative budget. You'll see a change, and part of so you'll see a change, an increase on general fund for 1.7 million, which is a 1.7% increase. This does include like one-time projects that we never did, plus the increases that we've mentioned previously on expenses. For all other funds, special revenues, the special revenue fund increase is mostly due to the jail district, which is that 10.9% increase. For capital projects and enterprise, I'll start with capital projects. You'll see a decrease of 1.3 million, and that's part of the BDI well money we had. So since that has, well, I don't want to say completed, but has been exhausted completely, that is not, flowing through to next year's budget. Enterprise funds, you'll also see a big decrease, and that's due to Fund 504, which is and I forgot what it's called, from solid waste. It's one of the big projects. It's the South.
New cell.
And that money won't, as well. So since it's been exhausted, it's not flowing through. So we
built a new cell. It cost us over $3 million, so we won't be spending that again next year.
correct.
Is that succinct enough?
Very.
Any questions from Juan?
I have a question for Mr. Frisbee. First of all, could you tell us about the concept of cash carry forward versus zero-based budgeting and the advantages or disadvantages of each?
Yes. So I could explain this. So I'll start with the cash carry forward question, because it's a question I've received from the public sometimes where they ask me, well, Juan, why can't we use money that was left over, from X department and use that to fund next year? So that's exactly what cash carry forward is doing. So when any money that isn't used is integrated into next year's budget. However, so now answering the question about zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting is, we're close to getting that, but we don't have the manpower to do it. Zero-based budgeting is more in line with what do we need? Like, give me an itemized bill of everything that you're going to be spending for next year. And that would be how we built the budget. Like I said, we're close, but I would have to have each department tell me exactly like each pencil that they're going to buy. Usually we go with like how much they spend with general supplies instead of having like how much, let me know each single pencil that you're going to use. So yeah, good question. I am a big fan of zero-based budgeting. However, I do understand the complexity of it.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay. Good explanation. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. Do you have other comments, Mr. Karwachka?
No, I can save my comments for the truth and taxation portion.
I have a comment.
Okay.
I will be voting no because of the ill-gotten gain of the jail district election.
Okay, we heard your statement. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
So we have 2 for, 1 against. It still is approved, the tentative budget for Cochise County for 2025. Okay, let's go to the next item, which is truth and taxation hearing.
Madam Chair, I move that we set a truth and taxation hearing pursuant to ARS 42-17107 for July 9th, 2024 at 10 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors hearing room, 1415 Melody Lane, Building G, Bisbee, Arizona, to receive public comment on the proposed tax levy.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now, Mr. Kowachka, the truth and taxation hearing.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Supervisor Judd, Supervisor Crosby. So there, in this circumstance, there needs to be a truth of taxation because of the assessed value increase, but there also needs to be truth and taxation hearing, and it's not separate; it's all together in one. But just for the public to understand that there was a 2% rate increase built into the budget. Now, even though that's determined in August 19th to be specific. But because of those reasons, this triggers the truth in taxation, which gives us the opportunity to give notice to the public for a hearing that will happen in July. So,
Any other questions or comments from Mr. Karwachka?
So if we don't, if the public's very against it and we somehow don't vote for the 2% increase,
Yeah.
Then the budget can be trimmed down to fit that.
correct.
Budget can
tax.
always be trimmed down.
But we
It just
can't
go-
trim it up.
Yeah, trim it.
Okay, all right.
You can't
Thank
bulk it up after the year starts.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. Any other further comments before I call for the vote? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and approved. Next meeting will be Tuesday, June 18th at 9:00 a.m. in the executive conference room for a special executive meeting. Having said that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.